Hello, Guardians. Welcome to Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast here on Boss Rush Games. I am one of your hosts, Corey Deerigan. Alongside me in this fire team is the lore hound, Josh Finney.
I mean, who else would it be in your fire team, Corey?
I mean, yeah.
Like, come on.
That's fair. You know, it's fair. I did watch a lot of Bife videos earlier this week before the Xbox showcase. I guess it would have been last week, but you know, I was watching the whole Titan lore stuff and the Shaxx and salad and beef and that kind of stuff. Oh, it's so good.
It's so funny how like there's specific lore in the game about how Shaxx, Saladin, and Zavala cannot be in the same room together, and that's hilarious to me because when Iron Banner comes around, they're like in a straight line.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay. So Saladin's too good to go down and talk to Shaxx, but he'll stand above him. Okay, I got you, man.
Yeah, I know. It's fun to read about the beef and just everything, and it's just, yeah, they're all on the same side, but they all just kind of, you know, it's fun. Definitely recommend checking it out. But anyways, we're not here to talk about Titan beef. We're here to talk about some Destiny, and boy, oh boy, was there some big news drops this week, Josh. For those who don't know, the Xbox Game Showcase happened last week on Thursday, and the big bomb dropped that Destiny 2, along with all the expansions up to Beyond Light and including Beyond Light, are coming to Xbox GamePass. That's a pretty big deal and a pretty big get for Microsoft, I think, and also a pretty awesome way to get more Guardians into the current content for Destiny.
Yeah, for sure. I'd like to be the person who is like, you know, like about a month ago when we found out that xCloud was going to come out of, not even a month ago, like a couple weeks ago, when we found out xCloud was going to come out of beta and go into public access in September. I was like, it'd be really cool if they took some of these free-to-play games that have a lot of populations and put them in. Like, they don't even have to be like one of the 100 games. They just like said, oh, along with your xCloud and Game Pass subscription, you get these games now. You can play these popular games like Fortnite,
Apex, Destiny, New Light, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, like, you know, PUBG.
I think you even said it on the show. It'd be really interesting if they added.
I genuinely don't remember if I said it on here, but I thought that was a really intriguing idea. And a couple months ago, I want to give credit to where credit is due. My buddy John was like, man, they have such a good relationship with Xbox. I wonder if, like, maybe if you have Game Pass, like, oh, you get Beyond Light for free. And I'm like, oh, dude, there's no way. There's no fucking way they're going to do that.
I think we had that discussion on the show because after you said that, I was scrolling through Twitter, and have you noticed that every Destiny ad in the last few weeks has had an Xbox logo before and after it?
Yes, I believe we have brought that up. I found it really interesting how it was a really subtle change too. I thought if anything, Stadia would have the marketing on Destiny after last year, but that platform only having like 12,000 players for Destiny 2, and that's like their most popular game, I'm not shocked to see that, yep, the second that deal was up, they're like, nope, goodbye, we're done. I would love to know the absolute king's ransom that Microsoft paid to get this on there. Yeah. Because I know like a lot of people in the Twitch comments and in the YouTube comments were like, and even in Twitter, we're like, oh, Destiny, does anyone even play that? Like, yes, there's over 1 million daily active users across 3, sometimes 4 platforms. And for them to bring it to Game Pass for console in September. So to be clear, mid-September, you'll be able to access Forsaken and Shadowkeep along with New Light through Xbox Game Pass on any device. And then November 10th, you'll gain access to Beyond Light. You won't gain access to Season of Arrivals or the next year's seasons. You will still have to pay for those. But you're getting like $100 worth of expansion content for free. And that's more than enough to keep you busy for a very, very, very long time. Then the news comes out after that. We're like, oh my God, this is so cool. They confirm, and Phil Spencer himself does, oh yeah, this is going to come to PC Game Pass as well. We're working it out with Bungie. It won't be until next year, but same deal, all 3 expansions. PC is arguably a bigger deal than Xbox.
Yeah.
PC already has 600K playing on almost a daily basis. You add even more to that through Game Pass Ultimate, and it's just it's a no-brainer. If you already have Game Pass, you're gonna go check it out.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I really can't wait to see all the kindergartens that are gonna come through.
I know it's gonna be cute. But I just, man, like even the whole Xbox Game Pass thing is just, I can't believe how good of a deal it is. You know, it's just so
the best deal in gaming, as we've said. You and I have said it repeatedly across all of the Boss Rush shows. The best deal in gaming keeps getting better.
Yeah. I mean,
go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, even with adding the first party stuff day and date was a good enough deal for me anyway, right? And then you start adding things, and you start adding these indie games, and you start adding, Fallout Wastelanders. Like, I know Fallout 76 isn't a great game, but adding the expansion to that on Game Pass is huge. Adding, even after the Xbox game showcase, Halo Infinite, everything is coming to Game Pass. Forza Game Pass, all these games and all these.
Right.
What I guess they're going to try to make a lot of these things live service games, like Forza Motorsport is probably going to be a live service game, that kind of thing. And then they drop the bomb in the middle of the showcase with Destiny, and it's like, this is getting Bungie back in the fold. I mean, in a partnership sort of sense, like, it's just Game Pass is the best deal. And if you have an Xbox and don't have Game Pass, I don't really understand what you're doing. I get, like, there's,
you don't even have to have an Xbox for it anymore. Like, if you have a PC and you see enough games on there that are
in September, you won't even need that. You'll just need your phone and a controller. It can be a PlayStation controller, it can be a Switch controller, it can be any weird Bluetooth controller you have lying around.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I can't believe that they're going to include xCloud with Game Pass Ultimate. Now, somewhere down the line, I'm sure that's going to change. It is too it's almost too consumer friendly, frankly. And like, then they started doing Game Pass Ultimate perks. Like, I don't want to turn this into Game Pass show, but it's like, just the sheer amount of content you're getting. This is really the first time I can think of a non-first party game getting major DLC given to you as part of it. I don't even think Microsoft gives you DLC. Like, you don't get the Forza Horizon expansions. You don't get
Gears did. Gears gave you.
Okay.
Gears gave you. Well, they gave you the operations, but you still had to buy like the operation passes, which are like $10 a piece.
Gotcha.
But you can participate in the operations that they give out, and you can still play in like the featured playlists and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, other than that, this is like
the biggest.
The Master Chief Collection gave you Reach and ODST, I guess.
Okay.
Technically,
but I think those are added permanently to it now. I don't even think you have to buy those anymore. I think they just give them to you at this point.
Yeah.
But anyways, regardless, like, for a non-first party game to go do this is massive. And then to be like, we're going to one up ourselves and we're going to bring it to PC next year too. Like, we're really sorry we can't have it there at launch. There's some logistical issues, which I don't doubt. Mm-hmm. Especially with, maybe in the agreement with Stadia, maybe with the shift to Steam from Activision, like, who knows, there may be some leftover contract language and all of that. It is still such a massive thing. And for a company that's such a big reason of why Xbox is what it is. Mm-hmm. Like, without Halo and without Bungie, you don't have Xbox. Mm-hmm. You have a console that flames out. You maybe get the 360, but 360 never becomes what it does.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure Fusion Frenzy and Brute Force would have been the kings of Xbox at this point.
Oh, God. It's a Bloodwake. It's been 20 years. It's time for a new Bloodwake.
Could you imagine if, like, is in some weird DLC for Gears, by the way? I know this is a Destiny show, but they added the Brute Force characters.
I would love it. So I remember when Brute Force got announced and it came out and I was like, what the hell is this game? And then I was reading the Halo 2 preview coverage in like Game Informer or something, and it said the Brutes are going to be the enemies this time. And I'm like, what? They made a Halo game and didn't call it Halo? What? And it genuinely took me a lot longer than I care to admit to figure out that Brute Force was an entirely separate universe. And it was not related to Halo at all. And I felt really stupid once I realized it. My 11-year-old mind was blown.
That's hilarious. That's really funny. I'm not
And
gonna
we
lie to
also
you.
got a really cool new trailer with this too. We
Yeah,
finally got to see Stasis actually in action, and not just briefly. Dude, there's ice wall grenades.
I know. And you can basically build
Oh my
platforms out of
god.
these things.
I'm so excited for what this means for jumping puzzles going forward. And what it means for like out of reach and out of bounds, like collectibles and things of that nature.
Hmm.
I'm so excited to see what happens, like speed running, how the end game gets changed around these abilities. And then Luke Smith, on top of all that, comes out and goes, "Oh yeah, by the way, stasis powers aren't going to be exclusive to just being given to Aramis and her Fallen. We're going to give them to the other races as this goes on." And I'm like, "Oh god, oh god, there's these stasis infused Vex and Cabal running around. This is not cool. Not cool. Don't like this. No, thank you."
I'm more concerned about the stasis exploding Thrall.
I'm concerned about anything with stasis, considering how much I do not like the Taken.
Yeah.
And the Taken did provide a much needed shakeup to the game, but ultimately they are a reskinned enemy.
Yeah.
Even though Taken captains are the worst enemy in the entire game, I maintain.
Yeah. Let's shoot these big black blobs at you that make you can't see, and then we'll pop a bubble shield and that we can still shoot through. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, we're going to pop a bubble shield. We're going to have a shield up around us. Oh, and we're going to let people come over and invade you and Gambit during all this.
Right.
I didn't have a huge problem with taking captains until I started playing Gambit. And then I'm like, oh, okay, now I understand why people get really salty about these. Now I get it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but man, that's the trailer looks so cool. A lot of it's stuff that we've seen before, but we saw a lot of the new supers in action. Like the warlocks have some kind of like Gandalf staff that they're running around with in third person.
Yeah,
that looks really cool. I don't know that I'm so intrigued to see how this works, and I don't know if we get another look at this after this. I honestly don't know if we get another trailer for Beyond Light. I'm pretty sure this was intended to be the last one before the delay.
Right, because it was supposed to come out September 22nd. Yeah. So
I fully think they plan to drop all this on Game Pass at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's why the announcement was made. So like I'd love to know what was going through Phil Spencer's head when they said we have to delay, and he's probably going like, "God dang it, guys! Like we were so excited to have this DLC there day one, but the principle of it being there, of it being of it being a Forsaken sized expansion is just massive. You can't understate that enough. That is just."
I mean, they're kind of positioning Beyond Light almost as like a pseudo sequel. I feel like in terms of where we're going, the characters, and like I feel like if they were still under Activision, Beyond Light would have been Destiny 3. Like,
yeah, the joke that I've seen is that I think Jason Schreier made this joke, is that if they were still under Activision, this probably would have been like Destiny 3 or the beginning of like Destiny 4 at this point.
Yeah.
Just to like pump out as many $60 titles as possible and nuke your vault as many times as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But this is kind of the do or die moment in a way. Like, this is the first season of Arrivals. On top of that, is really like they're two of the first things that Destiny or that Bungie has really made on their own since the Activision split.
Mm-hmm.
So they've been pretty open about Shadowkeep was developed mostly still under Activision. The Garden of Salvation was still developed when they had the extra assets in the first couple seasons. Season of the Worthy was pretty bad because that was one of the first major things. That and Season of Dawn are kind of like the first things they really made on their own.
Mm-hmm.
But Arrivals, I think we can all agree, as much as I like Season of Dawn and the narrative behind it, Arrivals has been such a huge step up. That's what we expect from seasonal content now. It can't carry you for 4 or 5 months, but it can carry you for those 3 easily for 3.5 months. Now we get into with Beyond Light. It's like, okay, is this going to be just as meaty as Forsaken? You know, are we going to get multiple destinations? Right now, they're only saying Europa. Are they going to surprise us with a second destination? Which I'm fairly certain we're getting another destination. I think it's going to end up being the Dreadnought. Personally, I've ridden the Dreadnought train hard for a long time. I don't have to predict Enceladus ever again because the Deepstone Crypt is on Europa. I can stop with my prediction of that. I'm really, really curious to see what they do here, and for a whole new generation to get to experience the game. Like maybe people who dipped out in D1 or at vanilla D2 are going to be like, "Oh, well, it's all free on Game Pass. I'll give it another shot."
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Dreadnought's going to be there right away. I feel like
No.
What's this season going to be? What's this year going to be? 4 seasons, I'm
Oh,
assuming.
that's right. We have the Cosmodrome. Never mind. I'm dumb. We have the Cosmodrome coming back.
Yeah, but I mean, I still feel like the Dreadnought could come back in whatever next year's season of Arrivals is, where okay, you have like the Dreadnought is arriving, and you know what I mean.
I mean, now that you mention it, the Dreadnought is probably going to come back with the Witch Queen, with good old Savi. I expect it to come back then, but I think also the embracement of xCloud and of Xbox Game Pass kind of opens up new avenues for them. Like, oh, only install the content that you want. Like, we're streaming it all to your box. Like, and if PlayStation gets on board with some streaming type of tech, then hey, leave the other consoles behind. Bring everything back into the fold.
Yeah,
there's no reason why this can't be the biggest, most expansive game out there now with Azure computing and with xCloud. So I'm very excited to see this next evolution of it. It may not be a new engine. It may not be, it'll be a new narrative in a way, but just pushing it forward with this kind of tech is massive. Yeah.
So that's kind of the big news of the week. I'm excited for players to my cousin hasn't played Destiny in a while. Like he doesn't. I think he bought Forsaken, and I think that was the last time he popped Destiny in. And he was like, "Man, I'm really like considering jumping back in because of the Game Pass announcement." I'm like, "You should. It's exciting. It's awesome." And
I've had conversations with at least 3 or 4 friends who have said the same thing in the past week.
Yeah.
I was actually going to start playing on Stadia in my spare time with a couple friends, and as soon as they saw it was coming to Game Pass, they're like, "Nope, never mind playing it on Game Pass. I'll play with you. I'm here. I'm ready to go."
Yeah, it's
like, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I've had so many people say, "Should I jump into Destiny?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, the first year is free. Like you can play all the campaigns and whatever."
If you're brand new, now is the time to do it. Go play the Red War. Go figure out what's going on.
Especially since all that stuff's going away.
Right, and I'm a firm believer in experiencing the core story of the game.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to run through the story stuff again one more time, just to just to do it, because I still have my Hunter to run through stuff, like the campaigns and stuff. So I think I'll probably do that just to get my feet wet in them Hunter capes. I don't trip over it.
Love the Hunter capes.
Plus, like I've never done the new light stuff, so I think this will be a good time to do that too.
The new light stuff, I will say this, is if you've played Destiny before, if you've completed the campaign on any character, the new light stuff is it's absolutely tedious. It's the worst. I didn't realize when I first went to go start up alternate characters, because I'm greedy, I want more Bright Dust, that you have to play Crucible matches first, then go back to the tower. Then you can pick up the 3 intro bounties, and then you have to go finish those, and then you can go back and pick up your weeklies. You have to do that with every activity, with Strikes, Crucible, and Gambit, in order to get bounties and weeklies unlocked. And it is genuinely the most infuriating thing I think I've ever done.
They have to change that.
Man, they have to. They're going to have to change it. Going into, especially if this thing is going to come to Game Pass, you got to change that. People aren't going to want to do that. They want to jump in and play with their friends right away. They don't want this intro crap.
Yeah.
They want to just play with their friends. And if you're going to build this as that, like for Strikes and Crucible, I don't think you need it. For Gambit, yeah, you probably need a tutorial in Gambit because people are dumb.
Mm-hmm.
And I play with way too many people who are just dumb in Gambit when I solo queue.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, keep the bounty system for them. I'm not sure how you really do that adequately.
Yeah,
but I do think that's something that's going to really have to be looked at as we get closer and closer to not only September, but if you're not going to fix it in September, you got to fix it in November.
Yeah,
you have to.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of the big news of the week. Like I said, I'm excited for some of my friends to jump back in and give it a try. And like you said, there's going to be a lot of kindergartens come September, and then probably again in November. So
fresh blood.
Yeah, blueberries. So, all right, Josh, what's next on the docket?
I mean, we've already blown through those. Let's talk our exotic Engram. Let's talk our favorite drops of the week.
Yeah.
Corey, you had a lot of them.
I did. I mean, I didn't get anything great, but I'm on the last step of the Xenophage quest. I have 2 steps left in the Sleeper Simulant quest, which we decided to try to do. I'm up to, I think my max light is 1041, so I'm getting up there. But I think my favorite drop of the week, I got 5 exotics this week, which was crazy. I got Colony, I got the Eternal Warrior helmet, I got, but my favorite drop of the week, I think, is Armamentarium, just because of that second grenade as a Titan is really useful when you're running.
Yeah, especially in PvP, that's killer.
Yeah. So, nothing huge yet to kind of, I mean, unless you want to talk about Skyburner's Oath for a minute. I mean, that gun is just, whoo, man. That's a.
I miss when Skyburner's was good.
That's a weapon that I dismantled almost immediately.
I truly mourn for the time that it was good. It was so good in year 1 that the catalyst was locked behind the Leviathan prestige raid, and man, let me tell you, I have one buddy who he swears by it. He still uses it, and it's like, you know what? Good for you. Godspeed to you, my friend. It is not great.
Yeah, no, it's it's definitely not great. I mean, but to be honest, it's just kind of like I haven't taken Outbreak Perfected off since we got it. Like, it's just so awesome, and I would switch it out for Whisper just when we get to raid bosses and stuff. But other than that, it's just. That gun's amazing. It's so good, without the catalyst.
It's so steady and buttery smooth, even on console. Like, there's almost no kick to it.
Yeah.
And I mean, the more that you stack up, that things will die. So, like, when we go in and do Callus, that's our big bad secret. That's how we 2-plate him. Everybody uses that except for one person who's on Divinity, and you absolutely shred him. It's not even fair.
Oh, that's what I got. The other, I finished the Ruinous Effigy quest.
Oh, okay. So how are you liking that?
It's fun.
It's a weapon.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's awesome. It's definitely one of the most fun I've had with a weapon in a while.
It is an absolute blast. I love that gun so much.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. It's fun.
Yeah,
I like smashing the balls. So
yeah, I went through and did the Prophecy dungeon the other day with a friend, and 2 friends actually, and we were all running Ruinous so we could hit the Savathun eyes on our way through. And I don't know if I've been as tense as we were in the boss room, waiting for the proper rotation to come around. I don't think I've been that tense in quite some time. But you have to wait for it, and it'll be up in the ceiling, like behind a pillar. So there's only like one angle you can really hit it at. Mm-hmm. And we had to go through, I think, 4. We were on our 4th rotation of the room when it finally came up. And my buddy John threw up a bubble around me and our friend Phil so we could pop out, shot it real fast, and then we changed weapons inside the bubble because I was of trying to do boss damage with that thing. The Kel Echo is not what you want to be trying to do boss damage with Ruinous Effigy on. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
We were changing it off for most boss encounters, but man, that is a bonkers encounter trying to use Ruinous for.
Yeah. So yeah, that was the big weapon I got this week. But I got it so early in the week, I just kind of forgot that I got it this week.
Right.
So, and then between the time I got Ruinous Effigy and this episode, I feel like there's been 4 weeks in between.
It's been a long week.
Yeah.
I finally got my first ever raid exotic gun in any Destiny game to drop.
I can't believe that. I used to get raid exotics like all the time, especially when we were running Taken King.
I may have gotten one that I'm just forgetting, but I never got Vex Mythoclast. I never got Outbreak Prime. I did get the Touch of Malice. I don't know if you count that as a raid exotic. I did get that, and I got the exotic sword. The exotic sword was genuinely difficult to do, but I finally got the weapon from the Crown of Sorrow to drop, Teraba, otherwise forever known as Terra Meh. If you don't know about Teraba, If they made one quick change to that gun, it would genuinely be a best in slot gun, or at least the best in class. I would genuinely take off Recluse if this gun worked properly. So your power builds up and builds up and builds up as you're shooting it. And then you can press X when you go to reload, and it'll unleash the beast, and it'll be like super powerful bursts that'll come out of it. It's really cool to use. I went in and trolled people in the Crucible this morning with it. Had a lot of fun. But it's only effective if you don't ever stow the gun. If you stow it, you lose all the stats. And that's why the gun sucks, because there's way better 750s or 900s that you can be using. You know, like Recluse, Exit Strategy, Ikelos, like Callus Mini Tool is up there as being potentially better than it. Like there's Escape Velocity. There's so many other options that are just better than it. Death Adder. Like, there's at least 5 that are better than it right now, and those are all legendaries. That's not even counting exotics. Like Risk Runner, I think, is personally better than it. But hey, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I finally got the drop. They're gonna finally hear us after a full year and a half and buff the hell out of that gun. I'm ready for it when it happens. I'm still in pursuit of my boots, my claw hunter boots from the Crown of Sorrow. After every chest, there was just this cry of anguish. Literally everybody in the fire team got boots on that run but me. I have done too many chest drops in this raid across failed and completed runs to not have gotten the stupid boots by this point. But I'll just have to go and drown my sorrows in the beautiful raid emblem for finishing the 5 sunsetting raids.
It sounds like when we were running King's Fall, and we would run it like every week. We would run it, and like on my Titan, the only thing I needed was the helmet, which the helmet was arguably the ugliest part of that set, but it's about
completing it, though.
right. Ugh.
I was actually quite happy earlier today. Nerd Generalist and I ran in and got the one of the secret chests in Last Wish that you can get to from the wishing wall. You have to pop into a checkpoint with it, and then you have to jump back across this bridge fairly precariously. And we got to it. I finally got the last piece of armor I needed from that after literally like 2 years of getting the secret chests on and off and doing runs. Finally got the cloak to drop. I'm like, okay, why can't I do this? Why can't there be one of these in Crown of Sorrow? Why can there not be a chest I can get to from the beginning of the raid, open it up once a week, and get my beloved boots? That's all. I don't even care about getting a good stat roll on them at this point. I care about getting them, locking them, and immediately putting them in my vault, because that's the first thing I'm transmogging are those claw boots. They're never coming off after that. That's it. Like I want knives everywhere. I've got feet knives if I do this.
That's funny.
But yeah, that's definitely my pick for that's my pick for my item of the week is finally getting Teraba. Arguably, not even arguably, easily the worst raid exotic you could get. No Anarchy, no 1K over here, but I got Teraba.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's fair. Yeah, so I guess it's time for what the raid segment.
Yes, it's time for raid report. We call it raid report, but it's really our favorite endgame activity that we did of the week. Corey, do you have one?
Well, I mean, I ran what's it called? Dang it! The one thing that everybody hates doing for I did it for to do the shoot. What's it called? Dang it! What is it called? I have it. And I know what it is. It's where you jump down into this hole, and then you kind of go through this portal, and you go onto like the ice multiplayer map thing. It's the
Reckoning.
Yeah, the Reckoning. Thank you. I knew it started with an R.
God,
I did the Reckoning for the first time.
How was that? How did you feel after doing the Reckoning, Corey?
Wow, I'm like really embarrassed that I just couldn't think of the word. It was okay. It was.
What difficult? Did you do it tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3?
We were running tier 2.
Okay. And yeah, 2 is where it starts get. So I remember doing it at tier 1, and I was like, "This isn't bad. I don't know what people are complaining about." Did tier 2, and I was like, "Okay, this is rougher. This is rougher, but I've had worse." And the tier 3 is just it's Tier 3, I imagine, is what it's like for people who just like to find pain in every aspect of their life. Like, I'm clinically depressed and I don't even like doing it. I'm already sad enough without doing the Reckoning Tier 3. I did it enough last year to get the full set of Tier 3 armor for the Moments of Triumph. And I remember trying so hard to get the armor done, but me, my girlfriend, and my friend John all suffered through it together. And it just genuinely is among the worst experiences I've ever had. Your armor is completely randomized when you finish it. You can't be like, oh, I want to get a helmet, like, or oh, I want to get arms. Like, no, it doesn't work that way. It's like, ha ha ha, we're gonna give you 4 pairs of boots in a row. Keep doing the activity, sucker. I considered myself lucky that I got all 4 pieces I needed, because if you do the weekly bounty, that's how you get the helmet. I did all 4 pieces, got my helmet at once, I was done. And then I realized nobody else was done. They were all waiting on like boots or a cloak or something like that. So we had to keep running it. And I just, at a certain point, you really start to hate yourself.
Yeah, I was starting to feel that way after about what I had to get void kills, and we were looking for an area with a lot of enemies, and it had to be either Gambit or Reckoning where I got them. And I was told Reckoning was the fastest way, but honestly, I did it in about two Gambit Prime matches. I got it, and I was like, yeah, I never want to really run Reckoning again, to be honest with you. So
Reckoning has gone through so many nerfs and is still balls hard.
Yeah,
and it's not even fun. Like, it's not even a redeeming activity. If you go in there without wells and tethers, you're basically like GG's being a Titan in Reckoning. Just GG. Your bubble can do something, but it's not a well, it's not a tether. You can't go invisible to res your friends. You're going to die.
Yeah.
Your rally barricade. The ogres love seeing that thing.
Yeah.
Good luck, my friends. And then that's not even counting when you make it to the boss room. The boss room is even worse. It's just, man, it's not fun. I want to know whoever designed this at Bungie, and I want to have a nice long talk with them and be like, you need to go work on a franchise I don't enjoy. Torture some other people now.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, that's what I did. I mean, we also did some Gambit Prime. We did some, we're trying to clean up a lot of these exotic quests. Yeah. We're not really doing in-game stuff. I want to get a lot of the exotics that I don't have, just to
get Jotun, Corey. Get Jotun.
I'm going to
be toxic with me in the Crucible.
I will. I'll get there.
I did Crown of Sorrow this week. While we're talking about activities that we utterly hate in this game.
Yeah.
I did my least favorite raid across any Destiny game. I know people are going to laugh at this and be like, okay, you're being ridiculous. I would rather run Spire of Stars. I would rather run Eater of Worlds. I would rather do the Leviathan. I would rather do Crota's End. I would rather do any other activity short of the Reckoning in Destiny's history. I would rather run around being chased by Skowas for 30 minutes.
That sounds awful.
Than doing the Crown of Sorrow, even thinking about doing the Crown of Sorrow one more time. Because let me tell you something. It's gotten drastically easier in terms of enemies. It's hard to die to the enemies in this raid now. Where it's not gotten easier is you still have to juggle like 5 bullshit mechanics in the boss fight. Like, it's a fairly simple raid until you get to the deception and to the boss. Like, the first 2 encounters, you're like, this is a raid? This isn't bad at all. This is really easy. And then it just like takes the knob and it cranks it from like 0 to 11 on you. It's like I'm playing Quantum Break again, and I'm going along, really enjoying the storyline. There's a little bit of challenge here and there, mainly in the platforming in a third-person shooter is a little weird. And then they drop you into a building with the final boss, who is just doing all these things you've never seen in the game, just wiping you left and right. You have to look up cheats on how to cheese the boss. You have to Velveeta the boss. And let me tell you something. When I cleared this raid last year, it was back when Luna factions were still king, and you could just sit in a well, and it was a constant reload, and all you did was just sit there and fire all your spike nades, fire off mountaintop, and you one-phased it. It took us 3 phases to get this guy down, okay? And that's not bad, okay? It gets progressively more difficult as time goes on, because when you get out of damage, you still have to, like, haul butt to change out your buffs. And it's just, after a while, you just begin to hate yourself. You start running out of res tokens. We had somebody, our friend Kate, it was either Kate or Colonel Panic, one of the two of them. I'm so sorry for calling you out. One of them, we had all gone down at some point. We'd all used our res tokens. Someone goes down right before we go to damage. Like, as we're trying to get the last crystal on their side. So we had people from, it's in a triangle. We had people from dogs running the void to get it. And me and Nerd Generalist are just like sprinting. We're like, okay, we've got a well. All we need is to drop the well. I need to stay alive long enough to get off a Celestial Nighthawk. My health bar is not, it's literally non-existent. And it's just like, well, okay, the well is popped. There's a mountain of thrall running at me. I have to like jump out of it and shoot in midair to finish killing this boss. I've never been so satisfied at a boss's head flying at the screen and killing me. Because as it happened, like it happens, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, the head's coming out! Like the head's bouncing towards us." They've never done the raid. Me and my friend John, on the other hand, are like screaming at the top of our lungs because we got Teraba. I'm screaming, "I never have to come in and do this raid ever again." Everyone's like, "What about your boots? All you've done for 2 days is talk about the damn boots." And like that's the only reason you're here. That's all you want. You don't even care about the raid ring. You just want the hunter boots. I'm like, nope, forget it. I'm living without the boots. I'm done. I'm done forever. I'm out of here. I'm done. Goodbye. And then I was reminded that I still have to get another friend through it. I'm like, oh my god, no, this is the worst. This is the worst raid. I hate this raid so much. It says something that the raid has only been in the game it was only in for 1 year. Like on the 1 year anniversary of that raid going live, they were like, oh yeah, by the way, we're sunsetting Crown of Sorrow. Nobody likes this raid. If they tell you they like this raid, 1, they're a liar and that person is not to be trusted. 2, get a new circle of people to hang around. And just 3, this is how you develop trust issues. When somebody tells you that they like the Crown of Sorrow, or it's easy, or it's simple to do, it's not. They're a liar. And just kudos to you, Kate. This was your first raid in Destiny 2 ever. I can't believe you picked the worst one to do. You picked the most complicated one outside of the Garden of Salvation to do. So kudos to you. It is genuinely a horrifying, bad experience.
That's funny. I'm sorry,
it's terrible. It is absolutely terrible. You're fighting a giant bather from the Leviathan. It's awful.
That's I'm not gonna lie, that's funny. It's so funny. Leviathan this week, right? Just to make it easy, just to take a breather.
So right now we have a Scourge of the Past farm set up for Tuesday night. To try and farm the boss for Anarchy, because every time somebody's like, oh, let's go do this raid, I'm like, no, we're doing Scourge of the Past. It's the only one left that I need things from. Yeah. I need the boots. I need the boots from that raid too. And I need Anarchy. I'm tired of going in and seeing people on their first run ever getting Anarchy. We're doing a boss farm. Mitch, Willow, the whole PC group, my buddy John, I'm done. I'm getting Anarchy this week. That's it. I'm sitting in Insurrection Prime, running it repeatedly until I get Anarchy. I will spawn in alternate characters. I'll run it on my Warlock if I have to. I am getting Anarchy this week. I'm getting a raid exotic I can actually use.
Oh man, that's
I'm very emotional about this. If you guys can't
I
tell.
hear that. I see that. It's yeah. I mean, you need to get Anarchy. What else? What else do you need besides the boots? All right, we're gonna move into our last segment, which we call the Lore Corner. Josh.
Yes. Now that I'm all worked up and emotional, Lore Corner this week. We're gonna talk about. We got two subjects because they both have kind of small bits, but will definitely be important leading into the fall. Continuing our series of what do you need to know before Beyond Light. This is about the Sov siblings, about Uldren and Mara. It's gonna be a little short, but I think there's some room for some discussion for you and I here, Corey. So first, we're gonna tackle Mara. So we're with these guys. We're not going to tell their whole story. It's kind of presumed you know about them. Um, Long story short, Mara was the first awoken. She's the one who dreamed up the distributary and created the world, tricked the actual leader of the ship that she was aboard, the Exodus ship she was on, into thinking that she was the one who had imagined it all. And then, well, Mara revealed that it was really her and left the distributary with the faithful awoken that you now see in the universe. Long story short, established her domain in the reef, blah, blah, blah. Mara appears to die during the opening cinematic of The Taken King, when the Awoken fleet is just completely bombed out. As we briefly touched on last week, this is not to be true. Sure, most of them got wiped out, but the Queen's Paladins lived and were taken over. The Techians were taken over. You free them during the course of Last Wish and during the Corrupted Strike. And then Mara herself, though, was never found. Her body was vaporized. And we come to find out in the events of Forsaken that she actually had entered the Ascendant plane and was wandering and wandering and wandering. She ultimately endures by the power of the sword logic, the old hive ritual. Again, we touched on it last week. We're going to go really in depth into the sword logic here in a couple weeks because it's going to become a recurring theme through everyone that we're going to talk about for the next few weeks. And at that point, she just kind of chilled. She kind of chilled in the Ascendant realm as a spirit, almost like Toland, without form, until the titular Guardian, the player character, and Eris were able to concoct a plan to defeat Oryx himself. Upon Oryx's death in King's Fall, she starts being able to search for a way out of the Ascendant plane. She encounters Toland the Shattered. Toland, old member of Eris's fire team. You encounter him in a lot of things. You encounter him in the Prophecy Dungeon. You encounter him on the moon. You encounter him in the Ascendant challenges in the Dreaming City, even. And so she's kind of wandering without form. Eventually, we're not quite sure how, she comes to exist in a new throne world, because her old throne world, the name of the Shattered Throne, that is actually Mara's old Ascendant realm. That is her throne world. And it was taken over by Dulan Karu. She comes to exist in a new one, and at that point is able to make contact with the Guardian and Petra through the Oracle engine, assures them that she is alive, and tells them she's kind of indifferent towards Uldren's death when we first speak to her. The first time we've heard her talk in game since the opening of The Taken King. And, basically says, she's kind of indifferent with them, but she basically says, we have a more immediate threat, and that is eliminating Riven. Riven has been taken. She could destroy the entire Dreaming City. She could wreak havoc on the entire system if she's not killed, if she's not put down. And you gotta remember, Anahamkara is a wish-granting dragon. That is no small feat, even for a team of Guardians. So the Guardians and Petra concoct a plan. Petra is told to open the gates of the Dreaming City to all the Guardians to help quell the invasion and the infestation between the Taken and Zivlarath's Hive and the remainder of the Scorn, etc. We keep charging the blind well, and every 3 weeks we're able to visit Mara's throne world, somewhere out in unknown space. Well, all we know is from there we can see the whole galaxy from out there. And she would be openly hostile towards us at times. We would be hostile towards her, asking, you're telling us to do all these things. When are you planning on joining the fight, is what Ghost asks her. And she says, I'm already in the fight. I fight through my wrath, through Petravenge. We encounter an emissary of the Nine there. The emissary is leaving as we show up, who we come to find out in Joker's Wild is actually one of the Queen's former paladins, Paladin Orin. A very close friend of the Queen and of Petravenge herself. She cautions us during these visits not to trust the Nine and not to play into their games, not to play into their hand. And then she departs. One of the last things we see before she departs is an image of the pyramid ships on one of her screens, one of her circular screens there in the throne world. We haven't seen her in the game since. So she's kind of been missing since about mid to late Black Armory. She's kind of been missing in the game. We've had little hints and clues as to what she's doing, though. She got a mention last season, and I believe she might have one this season, regarding the Tree of the Silver Wing. She leaves a warning with Osiris about Vance. Vance himself goes to visit Mara at some point. and tells her about the lighthouses and about the trials and stuff. And she basically implores him to stop doing the trials, which we'll dig into more coming up. That's coming up very quickly, actually, our trials lore. And her and Osiris meet as well. We come to find out eventually that Osiris was part of Eris and Mara's plan during the events of the Taken King. He helped set a lot of it in motion for them. And if you've investigated the area of the Tree of Silver Wings in the weekly missions this season, you'll have noticed there is a seal of Osiris there. This relates to something that she tells him before she departs, for good, and before Osiris departs her, which is to plant the seed. We can kind of infer that seed of silver, the tree of silver wings in the IO missions and the interference missions was planted by Osiris himself at Mara's beckoning. Mara believes that the war between the light and the dark is a line that has to be straddled, much like the Awoken themselves straddle that line. She regrets at times not shooting the Traveler down when she had the chance, that maybe it would have averted all of this war. But now she's choosing to trust in the Guardian because she trusts in Eris and Petra's judgment of us. Uldren's story is a little bit less complicated, but I think equally as fascinating. Uldren, of course, as we all know, survives the events of the Taken King, crashes on Mars. There were hints to it in the Rise of Iron expansion. There's more hints to it in the Warmind expansion. We find a crashed ship in one of the lost sectors, and it indicates that the pilot survived. We find out that Uldren was looking to raise an army. He could still feel Mara's presence. He believed that she was alive. That's due to their connection as siblings. Eventually, he falls under the sway of Riven, becomes influenced with the Dark Ether, gives it the resurrects Fikrul, and really starts to raise the Scorn as an army. Through that, the Scorn are really born out of a fallen house, the House of Kings, that Uldren had raised himself to be the Kell of. Everybody believes he's dead. He's eventually captured by Cade and Petra and a team of 6 Guardians, which if they ever do a flashback raid, I would love to see this. I think it would be a really, really cool experience. Mm-hmm. But during all this, he's captured. They're put in the prison of elders. Long story short, they escape. We kill him eventually. After he's killed, he's laid to rest in the Dreaming City. This is where it gets interesting to me. There's a ghost in the Ghost Stories lore book of Forsaken named Pulled Pork, who's been searching hundreds and hundreds of years for his guardian, has never given up hope, believes that he's going to find it. He's mocked by the other ghosts. The other ghosts are like, why are you still looking? Like, it's joked that he scans even rocks, hoping for any living organism to be his guardian. He's longed for it for so long, and eventually he comes to enter the Dreaming City. And when he scans the body of Uldren Sov, Uldren sits upright immediately in a gasp. And the cutscene just ends. It was a random cutscene just put in Black Armory. That was the last time we saw either of them, but they have been referenced in the lore, specifically this past dawning on one of the ships. We get the impression that Uldren and Pulled Pork are hiding out on Earth in the Cosmodrome. And, of course, being a Guardian, Uldren has no memory of his previous life. He always keeps his hood up. He keeps his helmet on. He doesn't understand why Guardians look at him with this disdain and this hatred almost. And he says, they almost give him a look of pity in a way. Mm-hmm. And he tells Pulled Pork he doesn't quite understand this. And Pulled Pork is trying to... He's begging him almost, he's very impassionately pleading with him, go with me to the Lost City, find the others that are like you. You need to join the Guardians. You'll finally feel like you belong there. And this and that. It kind of explains the theory of the dawning behind him, what it's meant to be. It's a time to celebrate. And he says, very somberly, happy dawning. And Uldren actually responds to him. They're living out of a shipping container in Old Russia. Presumably, we're going to encounter him in the fall. Which would be a really cool throwback to his original introduction in the first ever Destiny trailer, when he was still known as the Crow and was supposed to be a Cade 6 style character.
Yeah.
If you can believe Uldren ever being like Cade 6. But I think it's really interesting that he, in being resurrected as a Guardian, becomes what he truly hated. He hates the Guardians. He hates them so much. And now he is one, and maybe one of our best weapons against the darkness, frankly. Yeah. but technicality's sake, he is technically the Hunter Vanguard. He has technically fulfilled the Vanguard dare of Cade 6.
Yeah.
So
how did just to, kind of like a side note? So
yeah, no, you're good. We're done. That's it. We're good.
Like, so if he's the Hunter Vanguard, like why is he the Hunter Vanguard? Like, what is the lore behind like them becoming the Vanguard? So he killed Cade 6. So now that he's a Guardian, since he killed Cade 6, that makes him the Vanguard now.
So, the Vanguard dare changes from Hunter to Hunter, such as in the case of Cade 6 and Andal Brask. When Cade and Andal made the Vanguard dare, it was whoever died first didn't have to be it. Basically, if you were the one left standing, you had to be it. So Cade's was essentially if you killed him, congratulations. You have to, if you lose the bet, which is you're the one left standing, you have to become the Vanguard. We're having more talk of the dare come up in the lore, and there will be, semi spoilers. There's going to be some lore here in a couple weeks that are going to deal with. Seriously, if you don't want to hear this, then you're just gonna blurt out for like 10 seconds. Anna Bray is going to be going to think she's being approached for it, and she's not. Spoiler alert, she's not. Zavala has no intention, but he does make reference to Cade's dare about saying that, oh, well, unless you were the one who killed him, we have nothing to talk about you becoming the Hunter Vanguard. So I'm really curious to see what they actually do with this, because it's always been kind of murky in the lore as to the exact nature of it. It's believed that each Vanguard gets to set each Hunter Vanguard gets to set their own dare. And Cade's essentially was, whoever killed me, congratulations, you have to be it now. You're tied to the tower forever. In fact, the death of Andal Brask is part of what forced Zavala and them to keep Cade in the tower more and more. They didn't want to lose yet another. Almost every Hunter Vanguard has been killed. And they didn't want to have to go through that yet again. And he even says, in his dying words to the Guardian, says, tell Zavala and Ikora that, this is the best bet I ever lost, was being a part of their fire team. Really, really touching moment. I do think that this has to come back into play, though, especially with this being a Fallen-focused expansion. And Darkness, especially, I can't imagine Uldren not playing a role in this.
Yeah.
Why resurrect him we're coming up on about a year and a half since he was resurrected. Why bother resurrecting him and hinting at him in lore pieces if you're not actually going to bring him in? Well, I thought for sure Season of Arrivals was when they would do it. So unless they pull a fast one on us and surprise, he shows up in the tower at the end of the season, it ain't happening.
I mean, that'd be kind of like a cool way to end the season, though. Like him just showing up in the tower, and
him showing up in the tower and everybody pulling a gun on him would be hilarious.
Yeah.
What I'd really love to see is if he comes to the tower and Saint 14, he encounters. I want him to encounter Saint 14 first. Saint, he's been gone for so long, he has no idea what's gone on with Cade.
Yeah,
and he becomes buddies. Just becomes buddies with Uldren, and doesn't understand why we especially, Saint considers our guardian to be the one that espouses what it means to be a guardian of the city. Like, why are we wanting to kill him now? Like, oh, what happened here?
yeah, because he's just so oblivious.
Mm-hmm.
So,
right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I didn't like. I mean, I knew like the hunters had like some weird thing, but I didn't know like the dare applied to non-guardians. You know what I mean?
The dare, as far as we know, it does. I would have said it didn't until he got resurrected, and then it's like, oh, well, congratulations, you're a guardian, you get it now. I still don't know if they'll actually honor that portion of the dare. I still do, with the Exodus quests happening, I pretty firmly believe it's going to end up being Anna Bray. But it's almost become a running joke inside the community of, well, where the hell is why don't we get a Vanguard? This is ridiculous. Can we please can the Hunters get some love in this game?
It's been a year and a half. I don't understand. I feel like that should have been something that should have been addressed like kind of immediately.
Well, in universe with Cade's death, the consensus governs the city. It's the Vanguard, New Monarchy, Dead Orbit, Future War Cult. and Lord Shax, I believe, all make up the consensus. And they choose not to replace the Hunter Vanguard right away. Like, they're all still such in shock over what's happening. And there's infighting. I mean, Zavala and Ikora do not get along. They butt heads big time in Forsaken over this. Zavala does not condone that we went and killed Uldren. Whereas Ikora's like, it needed to happen, dude. You did what you had to do. I would have gone with you, but Zavala wouldn't let me.
Yeah.
And we've seen Zavala evolve over the last couple of years, just as we've seen Ikora, kind of grow more distant. The Vanguard is fractured, and Cade's death, he was the one who kind of held it all together. He was the connective tissue, and with him dead now, I don't think it's as simple as putting somebody else in that position and saying, "Oh, look, it's all back to normal." Like, no, like the.
I mean, I kind of felt Ikora's distancing when Curse of Osiris was happening, because Osiris is not really liked by Zavala either.
Well, she mentions that it's mentioned that Ikora didn't speak to her ghost like for decades. Like, they didn't speak at all. And then they finally start speaking again, I believe, during the events of Curse of Osiris, to figure out what's going on with Ghost and with Sagira.
Yeah.
And it's just, the subtle evolution of the characters in the lore is so fascinating. I just wish we got to see more of that on screen.
Yeah.
That's got to be definitely my biggest gripe. But that is a much longer lore corner than I expected.
Sorry, I had questions.
No, you're good. That is the story on Uldren and Mara. Next week we are going to go over the Pit of Heresy and the Lord behind Xenophage. So basically, Eris's fire team is what we're going to go over.
Nice. Hopefully, I get Xenophage by then, and
that's the whole goal: is that you can get it and we can talk about it.
I might be calling on you at some point, so to run Pit of Heresy with us. So, but. No worries. That's gonna do it for Tower Casuals. I want to thank everybody for watching. If you are watching live on Twitch right now, you can stay tuned for a little more chat with me and Josh here. But if you are not, remember you can catch Tower Casuals on your podcast service of choice every Thursday, as well as our YouTube channel and BossRushGames.com. You can follow us on Twitter at Tower Casuals, which I can't believe was not taken. Yeah, and you can watch us live every Monday night on twitch.tv/BossRushGamesLive. Josh, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter, as always, at Josh_Finn. That's Finn with 2 N's, as always. And, come follow me for Destiny musings, for Twitter freakouts, at very, very badly optimized Xbox footage. And I'm sure after another episode of a certain Boss Rush Games show goes up this week, debates about what is the best type of sandwich you can get.
Yeah.
So, follow me for all that.
Yes. You can follow me at I am CoreyNHD on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow me at CoreyNHD on Twitch. You can also find me on a plethora of other content here on Boss Rush Games. Remember to like, subscribe, share, rate, and review wherever you consume this show. It's greatly appreciated. And until next time, we love you, Guardians. Goodbye.